Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney is joining the Liberal Party as a special advisor. CTV's Colton Prell has more on this story. Colton, good afternoon. Tell us about Carney's new role.
Yeah, Bakari, it's been long speculated that he's going to have some role in the Liberal partisan realm, but what that exactly was, it wasn't clear. There was talk of a cabinet position, talk of even gunning for the top job and taking Justin Trudeau's spot. We now know today he's going to be chairing a leaders' task force on economic growth. So this role, not part of the cabinet, not part of Privy Council, not part of PMO, actually under the Liberal Party of Canada. Of course, he's going to be speaking at the Liberal caucus over the next couple of days. We know that he's going to be presenting around economic issues, I should say. And this role is something that really lines up with what we've seen from Carney in the past. Of course, former Bank of Canada governor, former Bank of England governor, but it's not the first time that he's offered his advice to the Trudeau government in a very informal role. He helped them throughout the pandemic, trying to craft an economic response to COVID-19. And his new role is very much focused on the current economic issues that the government is struggling with. Affordability is one, but also productivity. This is something that we've been seeing talked about a lot more recently, this decline in productivity that we've seen in 6 of the last 7 quarters in our country. It's slowing wage growth in Canada. We're also seeing rising unemployment pose a greater challenge. And so part of this new role that Carney will be on is helping advise the Prime Minister and the leader of the Liberal Party on policies and on strategy, responding to those economic challenges, responding to not just the affordability crisis in the short term, but how to drive productivity and economic growth in the long term. And already we're seeing some pushback from the opposition. Andrew Scheer, Conservative House Leader, calling him carbon tax Carney, saying this is just another Liberal elite who agrees with many of the same costly policies that the Liberals have already put in place. But really this is the start of a response. It's the start of something different, which the Liberals have needed to do at this caucus because we haven't seen significant change from them. So if this can mean implementing new economic ideas, that's something they may be able to present to voters come this new session of the House of Commons in about a week's time.
Okay, also, Colton, this could be a busier week for commuters as federal employees head back to the office for at least 3 days a week.
Yeah, this is the other headache that the federal government is dealing with, specifically the PCO and certainly the Treasury Board. As of today, public servants back in office 3 days a week. There's been immense pushback to this. We've seen rallies all summer long. They're continuing here in Ottawa. We're talking about 282,000 employees or so who are now moving from between 2 or 3 days a week mandatory in office to a minimum 3 days a week mandatory in office. And this all goes back to the strike that we saw last year, the inability for the unions to get a remote or hybrid legislation coded in that collective bargaining agreement. Unable to do that, they had a secondary letter that was attached to it that basically said they were going to do it on an individual basis rather than a group basis. Well, because it wasn't in the CBA, you fast forward to May of this year, and suddenly you do get this large group directive bringing people back to office. We've seen it go to federal court. There will be a hearing on this, the union pushing the federal government to explain why they're doing it, calling it an unreasonable position. The Feds say it's because they've seen a drop in performance, while the union argues actually productivity has been up by hybrid working. So a really contentious situation here, but until this proceeds in the courts for now, it means a busier commute in and more public servants in the office more frequently. Bakari?
All right, CTV's Colton Prell. Colton, thanks a lot.